we must not assume that old books which say some startling things are necessarily wrong, but may in fact have something glorious to teach us that we never dreamed. I was warned by numerous folks last year to watch out for Athanasius, and they listed off all the defects. And that's one of the reasons I put the title in the folder that you were sent. And I didn't find the problems as bad as I was told. And I've collected gobs and gobs of texts on irresistible grace and on the fall and on the atonement that, to me, make Athanasius squarely orthodox on those as well. But I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to go to the most controversial one that is thrown up immediately when you say you're going to go back to the fathers, especially the Eastern fathers, and start profiting. You say, whoa, don't you realize they taught? I said, well, have you ever read them? Do you have any idea what that word means? And the word is deification. Deification. Divinization. Here's some quotes from Athanasius. The Son was made man that we might be made God. Well, I can see you jerking that one out and saying, heresy! Don't use this guy, he's dangerous. Or, he was not man and then became God, but he was God and then became man to deify us. The Greek word is theapoiethomen. Theapoieo. Very easy, right? Make God. But is it clear? So you make a God, make gods, make divines, make like God? What does theapoiein mean? Is that really obvious? So quickly we write off a person because they say something with categories we don't use. You got to get inside Athanasius' head and figure out, what are you saying? What do you mean? This troubles me that you say God became man that man might become God. That's a troubling thing. And those guys didn't bat an eye. Were they really that heretical? Why aren't you batting eyes at this? And then you find 2 Peter 1:4, which says that you may become partakers of the theos phuseos, divine nature. Anybody want to call Peter a heretic? Here's the way Athanasius explains that and other passages in John. It's beautiful. John then thus writes, hereby know we that we dwell in him and he in us, because he hath given us of his Spirit. And the Son is in the Father as his own word and radiance. But we, apart from the Spirit, are strange and distant from God. And by the participation of the Spirit, we are knit into the Godhead, so that our being in the Father is not ours, but is the Spirit's, which is in us and abides in us. What then is our likeness and equality to the Son? The Son is in the Father in one way, and we become in him in another, and that neither we shall ever be as he, nor is the Word as we. So maybe he's not so far off. In fact, might he not be seeing something we need to see in dealing with 2 Peter 1:4 or Romans 8:29? Those whom he foreknew, he predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brothers. I mean, this is a shocking thing to say, I am the brother of the second person of the Trinity. That ought to shock us. He's my brother. I'm in the family. That's a shocking thing. So don't get bent out of shape too quick with theapoieo until you know. Oh, how valuable to read old books. Or maybe he was thinking about Revelation 2:26, where using the Old Testament reference to the Son's rule, we are told, if we conquer, we will rule the nations with a rod of iron. Whoa, 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 wait a minute. That's supposed to be spoken of Jesus, and is spoken of us. Or even more amazing, Revelation 3:21, when you conquer, you will sit with me on my throne. That's unbelievable. How do you do this, Bruce? That's heresy. If it weren't in the Bible. That we're going to sit on the throne. We're going to judge angels. Now, so what do? You read an old book? A little parenthesis here. C.S. Lewis wrote the introduction for On the Incarnation by Athanasius. I don't know whether that is in print anywhere, but it's all over the internet. You can just type in C.S. Lewis, Introduction on the Incarnation, and you can read it. It takes 10 minutes to read. And he argues in there that this book, as a classic, is more readable than all the books that have been written about it in the last 2,000 years. And we're scared away from old books, he says, because we think because they're old, they're inaccessible. And he said the reason they're classics is because they're so accessible. Books that are not accessible die. They go out of existence. Books that keep getting read generation after generation are called classics because they're readable. But if you try to read the PhD dissertations about them, they're totally unintelligible. And so Lewis is pushing on us, and you remember this quote, he said that every third book you read should be outside your own century. That's really good advice. Because, here's his rationale, it's not because the early ages had no blind spots. They just had different blind spots. And so they tend to correct ours. We can see theirs, pure, no problem. But you might bump into something you'd never seen before because of the blind spots. He said it's something like, in 200 years, the common errors in our centuries, right in 20th century, will be shared by Hitler and President Roosevelt. And they don't have a clue that they're making the same mistake because it's just in the air. Oh, brothers, let's read old books. He said it would be just as fine to read books 2 centuries from now, but you can't get at them yet. The only option we have for not being in our own blindness is old ones. New ones, written in 2220 would be just fine. Read those. But if you can't get at them. And so the only way to be free from the blindness of our own times is to read old books. And I'm bearing witness to the preciousness of this last point because he has helped me so much. I feel like I've gone farther, and I'm just going to share with you where I am right now, and then you interact tomorrow by writing your questions for the panel tomorrow. But moving toward a conclusion, here's my last. It's the same. We're on the same lesson. The old books will possibly reveal something beautiful to you. And here's the question: deification raised for me. I saw, and then I read it in this book, that deification is the Eastern Church word for glorification in the West. And if you think through glorification, it's just as problematic because of the glory we're talking about is God's. And to be glorified